Good evening. This is the Cathy Durant Show, broadcasting on BBS Radio TV on the iHeart Network. I would like to welcome my guest, John Hadity, with Entertainment Partners. He has a boatload of information to share about financing films and accounting and tax credits and all that. So we're going to have a great show. Welcome, John. Oh my goodness. It seems like I've known you for a lifetime, but it's only been since 2019 at the AFM. You know, it was such an honor to see you on the stage there. You had this huge seminar going on, and the room was packed, and eyes were locked on you and ears as you talked about tax credits in states all over the country. So how long have you been with Entertainment Partners, and tell us your role?
Well, I joined them in 2012. You know, I was a studio executive for many, many years. And then I started my own company, financing films and TV shows, and really had a blast. And then that was in 2006. And then the market collapsed in 2008. And, you know, I couldn't raise any equity. It was so hard to raise equity for movies. But I noticed something really unusual. I noticed that tax credits in the US were, on a statewide basis, were getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And so they weren't correlated to the market. Right. So here we're in this economic depression, and yet states were promoting film production and TV production and trying to encourage filmmakers to go to their jurisdictions by offering tax credits. And I thought, well, that's interesting. That's a really interesting concept. So I shifted my focus from independent producing to financing tax credits. And what I realized was that, you know, everyone was suffering during this market downturn, right?
Yes.
So states wanted to incentivize productions to come to their jurisdiction and spend money and hire people and help boost the economy, the local economy. So I really shifted the focus of my business to tax credits. And, you know, it did really well. And then in 2012, I really wanted to scale up my business. And I called EP. And I said, you know, you're a payroll company. You have cash. I need cash. I want to scale up my business. You know, would you like to be in this business with me? And they said, yes, absolutely. So I joined EP, and they created a space for me, and I am in charge of our tax credit financing business. And, you know, like everybody else in EP, it was an employee-owned company, so I became an employee owner.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have to say, it's a very special company. It really is a special company, because they offer all of these production solutions at every level. I mean, from accounting to budgeting and scheduling and tax credit advice and, you know, production planning. It's a really special company. So I felt like I was in the right place. I felt like, oh, this is a marriage of all of my
good marriage. I was going to say a niche marriage.
Yeah. And so I've loved being there. I've been there since 2012, and I've loved it. And I think it's a great company. There's every kind of production support you could ask for there. And my team focuses specifically on tax credits. I should say production incentives, because
you have to stay in it. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, everything. I should say production incentives, because tax credits are, they're half of what the incentives are that are being offered by states. The others are rebates and grants. So, when you look at the United States alone, there are
Yeah,
40 states offer incentives, and they're refundable credits, transferable credits, rebates, grants, and that includes the U.S. Virgin Islands as well as Puerto Rico.
that is
Um,
awesome,
yeah,
actually.
and then there are dozens of other countries that offer incentives too. So this is a worldwide thing,
So
you know.
all of it falls under the Jobs Act. Would you say that?
Well, in the U.S., there's a federal incentive that called Section 181, and
Mhm.
that was a byproduct of the Jobs Creation Act, and it's the only federal credit that exists for our industry.
Right.
And what it does is it allows investors to write off their investment in a film or television project in the year they write the check. So
That's interesting.
it's big, and it's also a real carrot to dangle in front of equity investors. But the interesting thing about that Section 181 is that we don't ever know if it will be renewed
That's true.
until the end of the year,
Yeah,
right?
because they only have 1 year in it now, because I think it's going to um, wrap up in 24, I believe, and then they're going to have to go back to Congress again to try to get another 5 years. So you're right about that.
Yeah.
What kind of information do you have for filmmakers who are like nervous about tax incentives? How hard is it, or how easy is it to get funded? And especially for Georgia, the state I'm in, where you can get up to, I believe, 30% if you're creative. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, certainly. So first of all, as a resource, I want to tell everybody, go to ep.com and go to and do the drawdown menu for incentives, because we will tell you, and it's a very robust website, and we will tell you what incentives exist in every state where there is an incentive, and also every country in the world that offers an incentive. So it will tell you things like how much money is in the program each year, when does the program expire, so what's the sunset date.
Right.
It'll tell you what the percentage of labor is eligible for an incentive. It'll tell you what the percentage of your expenditures that are not labor, how much that is worth in an incentive. So from a budgeting perspective, you can comparison shop. You can say, okay, if Georgia's 30%,
Right.
will I do better by going to Louisiana? Right? Or
What are the hot markets now? Who would you say have the best well, no, you can't be biased. but
right, I
but
can't be biased, but I can tell you the programs that I see being utilized the most are Louisiana, Georgia, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Ohio, and it's crazy. I mean, I have to, I teach too, right? So
right.
I tell my students, I'm not embarrassed at all to say that I financed Chicago that was shot in Toronto.
Oh
And
my
and
goodness.
I financed Gangs
How
of
do
New
you do
York.
that? How do you
Yeah,
do
I
that?
mean, we
Do tell.
I mean, and I got some pretty nasty mail from the state of Chicago for filming Chicago in Toronto. But you know what? At the end of the day, if we didn't make it in Toronto because of the tax incentives and the foreign exchange rate and all that stuff, that movie would not have been made.
That's one way to look at it. Well, how important is it to have a company like EP on your side managing your budget? Do you recommend line producers to help manage, or tell me your role in this and
Yeah,
it,
I mean,
the tax
we
incentive involved?
we help in so many ways. I mean, we first of all, from a production planning perspective, we can tell you, you want to do this in Montana. Well, you might be better off if you do it in this state or that state or whatever, or people look at Idaho and it's like, well, there's no credit in Idaho. Why would you film there?
Right.
Like go to Washington or go to Oregon, and let us show you why. And there has to be a very compelling reason why you need to go to a particular place. And that's why I was talking about Chicago. It's like I made a movie about Studio 54 in Toronto,
Yeah.
right. And
Who created it? Yeah.
Cold Mountain. It's a movie that takes place in North Carolina in 1860. We shot it in Romania. Why? Because of tax incentives. And you would watch that movie and you
never know.
No, you'd never know. You'd be really hard pressed to know that that's not North Carolina. So we help with production planning. We help you with your budgeting and scheduling. We have the software for that with Movie
And can
Magic.
you give us that name of the software and the script software?
Yes, it's Movie Magic. So Movie Magic scheduling and Movie Magic budgeting. And they're the industry standard, and they work so beautifully together, and you can make adjustments as you need to, as you get further along in your pre-production planning. It's the programs are very flexible, right? And and they tie in beautifully with our accounting software. And when you're working with our team, we will, first of all, make sure you're set up properly so that you're capturing every potential qualified expense that would be eligible for a credit.
There's a place to share gossip about the office party fun, and a place to share the story you tell everyone. There's a place to share a laugh about when things went wrong, and a place to share the video of you dancing to your song. There's a place to share spare change, lunch, and your time. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
Not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens. Fact, more than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
How hard is it to get a bond, and is it necessary to have it already before they come to EP?
Well, it depends on the jurisdiction. It depends on the kind of incentive you're chasing. If you're working in a jurisdiction like New York, for instance, it's a refundable credit, but if you don't finish the film, you don't get your credit.
Wow.
You won't get the credit. So if we're lending against a New York credit, we would require a bond, because if you run out of money and you don't finish your film,
Right.
there's no credit. So, you know, if I lent you money against that credit and you don't finish the movie, I'm not going to get paid back.
Right.
Right.
Well, let's talk about the loan, because that's what filmmakers want to know most. Like, if they raise 80%, you could come up with 20% or 30%, whatever is equal to the tax credit of that
Right.
state. You lend against it, and then you see it through so that you can recoup your money at the next tax season, or how does that go? Do you?
Yeah, well, it depends on the credit. I mean, some places work faster than others. So in states where it's a transferable credit, for instance, like Georgia, it comes back faster than it does in New York.
How fast? Because people have asked me that. How fast? 60 days, 45 days, how long?
No, I mean, so that's one of the things that we'll do too. We map this out, but you know, it's a matter of months in Georgia as opposed to a matter of years in New York. And it really depends on the jurisdiction. So, you know, we'd have to look at each project individually, but you know, there are some states where it's really just a matter of a few months where you get your money back from the state. And then there are other states that take considerably longer, but we map that out, and we're doing work in every state. I mean, we're helping people with tax credit administration in every state where there's a credit. And so we know the timing in every single state. And so we're able to map that out, and we can tell the producer, the borrower, this is how long this loan is going to be outstanding.
Right.
Right. But it would be unfair to just give a blanket response to that, because every state is different. But we do know the timing in every state.
Yeah. Well, what about studios? Do you also work with studios?
We do. So studios don't need our money. So they don't borrow from us, but they do use us for the tax credit administration.
Yeah.
And I should clarify, for tax credit administration work, when I say that, what I mean is we help with the initial application that goes into the state. We help with tagging expenses that qualify for the credit. We work with the production accountant to make sure they're not missing anything. We liaise with the CPA firm that's going to do your audit. And then we make sure that the final application goes in correctly. And then we defend the audit in the event that the state questions any expense that we know should count. And sometimes the state authority doesn't really know. Sometimes they have a question mark over it, and we can show them, look, here are past productions where that's counted. So, you know, we kind of feel like we're your agent.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So how good do state authorities feel knowing that EP is in the mix of things? Do they sleep at night?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. They feel like, okay, these guys know what they're doing. So they have complete confidence in our work. And I will tell you that we have a 94, it was 94 last year, it may be higher now, but we have a 94% success rate in going into the production saying, this is the amount of credit you will earn, and having them win at least that amount, if not more, in the final application.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I gotta say.
That is really good. Now, tell us some of the films you're on right now before the strike. pre-strike. What are some of the films you financed this year?
Well, we haven't financed anything since the pandemic. I think the last project I financed was literally 2 months maybe before the pandemic. But here's what happened during the pandemic. I mean, we're still very involved and working hard on tax credit administration, because there are lots of studios and streamers that have been in production, and we've been hired by them to do the administration work. But from a financing perspective, I've put maybe, I don't know, 30 offers out on projects before the pandemic, and said,
including me.
I'm
trying to get my films financed, and it's tough. It's a tough market.
Well, what happened, I can always give a quote on a loan.
Yes.
And it could be the first thing a producer does, right? They decide where they're going to film, and maybe with our advice, maybe without, but if they know where they're going to film, I can give a quote on a loan against the tax, but I don't close on that, and I don't give you the money until I know you've raised the rest of your money.
That's right.
And what happened during the pandemic was businesses suffered. They just suffered. And equity investors that had play money didn't have play money anymore. And so they shied away from putting equity into movies.
Right.
And so, I've got all these offers sitting on my desk, but I need the producers to come back to me and say, okay, I've raised the rest of my money.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to do that. So the independent world has suffered, whereas the studios and networks and streamers have not suffered.
Right. Let's talk about the kind of fundraising, because I ran into a couple of snags where one time I was 100% financed. I was so happy because it looked like it on paper. But when it was time for us to qualify the funding, my 80% investors were from another country and would not agree to escrow the money into the US. And because the money couldn't be docked in an escrow account in the US, then it was hard to get a bond. So it's tough.
Right. Yeah, bond companies. So the way bond companies work is, it's an insurance policy, right? It guarantees that your movie will get made on time and on budget. That's the insurance policy. And in order for them to issue the paper, the guarantee, they need to have access to 100% of your budget, right? So when I make a loan to a production, I calculate the amount of cash that will come out of the loan to go to the production, and I send it to the bond company. And it's in the bond company's escrow account, and they can't touch that money until they issue the completion bond, the paper, to me, right? For my cash amount. Then, but they're not going to do that until they have the rest of the budget in that same escrow account. And once they have 100% of the budget in their escrow account, they'll release the insurance paper, right? And anybody and everybody that's a financier, including lenders and including equity investors, they're all beneficiaries of the bond. Right. So if the movie goes over budget,
everybody's covered.
But they're not going to do that until the bond company has 100% of the budget in their escrow account. So in your situation, they weren't comfortable putting it in a US escrow account. So they were never going to issue a bond.
No. Because they didn't know them. And so everyone could have been trustworthy, but if you don't go by those guidelines, it could really go wrong. So I was okay. It was really good to raise my money on paper to see I could do it. And I constantly do it, I'm out here. It's a process.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens. Fact, more than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
There's a place to share gossip about the office party fun, and a place to share the story you tell everyone. There's a place to share a laugh about when things went wrong, and a place to share the video of you dancing to your song. There's a place to share spare change, lunch, and your time. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
I'd like to ask you, who pays the bills? Let filmmakers know who actually pays the bills when you're in production. Because you can't take a small company and give them millions of dollars into their account and all of a sudden expect them to pay bills through production and to get through distribution and all these things. Can you explain the breakdown, how it goes?
Sure. So depending on what kind of incentive you're going to change, and look, it would be silly to go and film somewhere where there's no incentive, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like free money, right? So you would want to go somewhere where there is an incentive, and depending on the kind of incentive you're choosing to focus on, will determine the kind of entity you need to set up to be your production entity, right? So
meaning LLC.
Well, yeah, meaning it could be an LLC.
It can be sole proprietor.
It could be a C corp. Typically, it's a C corp or an LLC, depending on the kind of incentive you're choosing. Then it's that entity that will pay the bills.
Right.
So it'll be that entity that applies for the incentive. They're the applicant for the credit. They have to pay the bills, and they'll have to have a check register and a general ledger and trial balance that shows that they paid all of these expenses, because that's what's going to be audited and sent to the state. So, and we help. We don't set the company up, but we tell you what kind of entity you should have. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to relinquish the rights. If Cathy Durant owns the rights to a project, all you're going to do is assign this one picture license to this entity that we're going to set up. Right. So you will always own the rights, but you're going to allow the LLC or the C Corp the right to make and deliver this movie back to you. Or TV show. So your rights are always protected. But from the state's view, the right entity is actually writing the checks.
Right. Yeah, they want to know that you're in charge of it. Well, can you give us some advice, including me, on distribution deals? Can you tell us can we pick your brain for how distribution deals go?
Sure. I mean, there are lots of different types of deals. I mean, there are some North American distributors that just want to pick up North American rights, or they may want to pick up North American distribution rights on all platforms and then act as a sales agent for you in the rest of the world. In cases where they don't want to handle sales in the rest of the world, you would hire a sales agent to go and sell your project to Germany, Italy, Spain, France, Australia, New Zealand, right? And they come up with sales estimates for you based on your project, based on their buyers and what they know about their buyers and what their buyers want. I've seen in the past, I've seen sales agents tell me, I've got three distributors in 3 different countries that just want a movie with Salma Hayek. So if you can hire Salma Hayek, I'll buy it.
Right.
So they're quirky. They're looking for particular kinds of product. And sales agents can provide sales estimates based on the creative aspects of your project, what they know their buyers want to see and handle. And that's real currency, because you could go to a bank and say, here's a sales agent that you guys love, and they gave me these foreign sales estimates. Can I borrow against these estimates?
Right. But that would be based on bankable talent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not giving away pre-sales like that if you don't have notable people in it.
That's right.
Yeah. So how long does EP stay on the job once you fund a project? How long do you stay? Do you stay long enough to get refunded back from the state? You stay the entire.
I mean, we're there from beginning to end. So
really,
even in many cases, well beyond that, because we handle residuals too. So there are projects that we worked on, that we did the production planning for, that we handled the tax credit administration, that we've done loans on against the tax credit, and they're paid off. We got the money back from the state, the loans paid off, but we're still involved because we're still paying the residuals to the writers, director, producer.
Right.
Well, the producer doesn't get residual, but the actors, the musicians. So, and that goes on for years and years and years.
Wow. So that's really good to know. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the strike right now. It's so unfortunate that we come out of COVID and it seems like we were just getting our sea legs and back, and things were looking hopeful, and then all of a sudden we run into this I want to call it a transition, because it seems like everybody want to get to somewhere else and make sure they make claims on things that they think they should be earning. What do you think of this without, taking sides? Do you think it's necessary and that we're going to be okay in the end?
Well, we are going to be okay. I mean, this has happened before. The writers' strike really hurt television. It really hurt television. The actors' strike, and movies were still being made during the writers' strike because scripts were done. Movie scripts were done, right? So cameras were still rolling during the writers' strike, but it really hurt television. And then when the actors' strike came, everything came to a grinding halt.
Right.
And every day we get closer and closer to that being resolved. I don't have a crystal ball, but I will tell you that we're all preparing for a tsunami of production to happen.
That's good.
It is good. It is
That's
good.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, we're all preparing. I know that people are starting pre-production with the eye of starting filming in January. So, will it happen? And we've got Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas and New Year's, and I don't know, will things happen before then? I don't know. They might. But if it all gets resolved by the end of the year, then January, it will be crazy time.
Yeah, it would be like
there'll be so much production.
boom.
Yeah. I mean, there'll be so much production, and we're getting ready for it. We're preparing.
Well, I think maybe we should look at it like this: enjoy this vacation.
Right.
And it be
Right.
crazy.
Right.
Yes.
After 30 years of research, the results are in. Consumption of certain foods can be harmful to your physical and mental health. When diagnosed with a terminal illness and given a low chance of survival, Dr. Maxwell Nardi had a deep feeling that food had caused cirrhosis of his liver. When no cure was available through medication, after years of extensive laboratory research, he invented symptometric science and used it to save his life. Through research, Dr. Nardi discovered that some common foods are harmful to the human immune system, and that overconsumption can destroy stem cells. Stem cells govern the immune system and vital organs, like the liver, heart, and kidneys. Dr. Nardi's research offers cures for diseases, body aches, hair, and memory loss. He discovered by eating the right foods, necessary energy is created to help live a long, healthy life. Results from his incredible research is now available in the book, What to Consume, Mankind's Safest Consumables, now available through Amazon and Kindle. Listen to these verified Amazon customer reviews. 5 out of 5 stars. Very good information, mind-blowing. This book really opens your mind. It's a very short read. Once I started reading, I couldn't stop, so I finished it in one setting. I recommend this book for all. Thank you, Dr. Maxwell Nardi. Learn how to live a more healthy life today. Order What to Consume, Mankind's Safest Consumables by Dr. Maxwell Nardi at Amazon and Kindle.
Right now, AFM is going on, and you're not there this year. So what does that feel like?
Well, I miss it, right? I miss it. There are a bunch of festivals that I haven't gone to since COVID, and the question for me is always, what's the ROI when I spend that money to go to these festivals?
Right.
Is it going to be worth it?
Right.
Is it going to be worth spending the money? And I haven't felt confidence that for me, it would be worth it. I don't know, because independent films those are the people that need my money.
Right.
And I don't see that they have a strong presence at these. I think there are lots of buyers and lots of sellers, but those aren't the people that I need to attract.
Right.
So I want to be frugal, and I want to be smart about how I spend our money.
Right.
So I'm not there.
Yeah. So in that room, and like I said earlier, I had the opportunity to be in that room and hear you. But other than me, who's in that room? who was in that room? What kinds of people? Producers, directors, executives? Who's in the room listening to a seminar of yours?
Mostly producers, financiers, and distributors who also finance their own product. So, and there were people, AFM is all about buying and selling films. And so there were lots of distributors there from other countries that
Yes.
are making their own product or financing their own product and distributing it in their countries, but they may be looking to sell. So you may be a German distributor that's financing a German film, but you want to sell it to France, you want to sell it to Italy, or you want to sell it to an American distributor, right? And so they wanted to hear about how we help people on the ground in Germany, right? Take advantage of all the subsidies that are available in Germany, and we know how to do that. So, so it's really, I think more than most of the people in the room, it was more producers and financiers.
Right, right. I enjoyed that festival. It is fascinating to me.
Mhm.
It's fast moving, and it looks like people are getting things done to me.
Yeah.
And I really like it. The most amazing thing that they did was during COVID. You remember 2020 when there was the virtual AFM?
Yeah.
That was the most fascinating technology I've ever seen. You could
Yeah.
actually go to different levels, to different floors, and sit in the kind of virtually sit in the producers lounge and chat with people. It was amazing how they did that. I'm so surprised that they didn't continue it for a couple of more years to let the market heal, because we had gone through devastation with COVID. Something like you could never imagine, the world in the shape that it was in. But
Yeah, I actually in 2020, I actually participated on a couple of panels through
yeah,
virtually.
I remember because
Yeah.
I attended. It was really good.
Yeah.
I like that festival. I just really do. And this year, I don't know how they're going to do, but I've had a few people email me saying that they were attending, and they're all excited. And of course, I'm big edging them on, saying, "Hey, you're going to do really good." People are serious at that festival. So, but I'm happy to have you on the Cathy Durant show during festival time, because I think it started on October the 31st, and
Yeah.
it'll go through this week. So hopefully the market, it will not starve without you this year, because they can see you on the show and hear some things. And it's encouraging to hear that the prediction is that first quarter is going to be big. We're hoping that everything gets settled and people are back to work, the first of the year. Any advice you have for filmmakers right now, producers?
Yes, prepare. If you're a producer, now you have ample time to do the most comprehensive pre-production you could possibly need, right? And everybody is going to be ready, willing, and able to go back to work the moment the strike is resolved. So do all of your prep the best you can right now, thoroughly.
Yes. How important is it to get line producers in motion so that they can start breaking scripts down where we'll even know what we're doing?
Well, that's key. I mean, that's key, right? So you need a schedule, you need a script breakdown and a schedule in order to do a budget. And now is the perfect time to do that and to figure out where are we going to do this so that you can get a quote on a loan against the tax credit. That'll tell you how much other money you need to raise, right? And so once you're and you can do your fundraising while you're not shooting, right? So you could be out fundraising right now, so that once the strike is over, you can make these deals with actors and have start dates, and you are prepared. You've got your payroll company lined up, your bank account is open, your insurance, you've already started talking with your insurance broker about the kind of insurance that you're going to need. You can start preliminary conversations with the bond company. I mean, all this stuff you can get done right now.
And that all starts from you setting up the company as a C corp or an LLC, and giving the film production company a name and registered with whatever state you're in.
That's right. That's right. And you can open up a company there are very few exceptions. Louisiana, for instance, you need to set up a Louisiana company if you're going to shoot in Louisiana. But lots of other states, you don't necessarily need to set the company up in that state, but you do need to register that company to do business in that state.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens? Fact, more than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
Not all people are the same. And yet, when we visit the doctor, our treatments don't look that different. Why is that? Because we just don't have enough information to do it better. By gathering health data from 1 million people, our country's best researchers will be able to develop treatments that are as unique and complex as we are. With this new information, doctors will have a better understanding of disease so they can innovate the next great breakthroughs in medicine. Learn more at joinallofus.org.
I've enjoyed this conversation. There's one thing we have not talked about that I'm sure the audience will want to know. What is the state of streaming platforms right now? Everybody's rushing to streamers with their work. What's going to happen to studios? Will studios still do the mega pictures and then streamers get the indies, and what's going to happen?
Well, we already know that many of the studios have their own streaming platforms too.
Yeah, like Sony.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Paramount,
Yes.
So, and Disney.
Yeah, they're in the business now.
They're in the business. I think the one thing I would say in caution is if you make a project independently, meaning it's financed independently, not by a studio, not by a streamer or network, and you are lucky enough to get in a festival or whatever, you are able to sell it to a streamer, be careful. Most streaming platforms want to acquire worldwide rights in perpetuity.
Right.
And that's great. That means your project will be seen worldwide, but you have to understand that they may offer you less than what it costs to make your project. So if you made a $10 million movie, it's quite possible a Netflix or an Apple or an Amazon might say, oh, I love your $10 million movie. I want to give you $6 million for worldwide rights in perpetuity. Well, it costs you $10 million to make.
And you can't pay your investors back.
Yeah, who's not getting paid back?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to have a good lawyer, right, who understands your financing plan and who you owe money to make sure that the deal that you enter into is going to be fair for your investors.
So is there a need to pitch studios anymore? Because there are so many, is it realistic to even pitch them? Like,
yeah. I mean, look, they're attending festivals. They're going, all the
they're
studios.
still looking for independent players.
Yes. Yeah, they're still out there. They're still looking. They have acquisitions people that are still very much in the business of acquiring distribution rights.
Right. So what's happening the most, what do you predict will be the main market when we come back, when things bounce back? Television or films?
Well, I would say that it's been my impression that the television industry is much more active, much more active. Films, big films get made, right? Big films get made by the studios,
Right.
but like they're not making as many big films as they are television shows.
Right.
So when you look at production, there's probably a lot more television production. And that includes streaming too, and miniseries and all that stuff. There are probably more people working on those shows than there are on movies. But the movies are, it could have 10 times the amount of crew members on a big studio movie than a TV series.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but what about theaters? Is there a balance? As we're not making as many movies, what about theaters? How are they faring right now?
That's a good question. I mean, you look at phenomena like Barbie and Oppenheimer and Taylor Swift.
Right.
Right? Taylor Swift, $100 million opening weekend. I mean, so in instances like that, theaters are really healthy. But, are they as healthy as they were in 2019? Probably not.
Volume-wise, they're not, but probably when you add the dollars, they may be okay.
Yeah, but I don't think theaters are going away. I don't think that business is going away. I think it's healthy. I think just like everything else in our industry, it's suffering a little bit right now, but there have been instances where there's been this light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Right. And so I think they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. But that's good to know. That's good to know. Now let's talk about faith-based projects. Sony Affirm Films, they've done very well with faith-based movies. I have a faith-based series, I Am That I Am, and I'm, slowly becoming a part of the fabric of producers who are making faith-based projects. What do you think the thoughts are about faith-based projects coming to the market? Because there's a rise, and studios can see, and independent financiers can see that they do make money. They've done well. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let's look at Tyler Perry.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. Tyler Perry is the poster child for faith-based filmmaking and outreach, and the marketing alone, right, for his product was entirely faith-based, right?
Yeah, they went to churches, plays, and that's his business model. And he has become a mogul.
Yes. And even during the pandemic, his production company was working full throttle because he had such an empire in Georgia, that an entirely enclosed campus that he could continue to shoot, and he could quarantine cast and crew
on his
Yeah, on his campus.
I remember people talking about it. And as we wrap up, I'd like to get your input on new directors. A lot of people think that you gotta do 50 pictures in order to get a deal, but there are new directors emerging that may have a ton of production experience and may have a following. Are studios and financiers like EP afraid to back new filmmakers with
No,
experience?
not new directors. I will tell you. I mean, one of the studios I worked for was Miramax, and we had Kevin Smith, we
Wow.
had Robert Rodriguez, we had Quentin Tarantino. These were
Yes.
all first-time filmmakers, right?
And did well.
Yes, and they did well, and they've gotten they've had wonderful careers. So I always tell people I'm not afraid to work with a first-time director because I've done it many times.
Hey.
I'm a little afraid of working with a first-time producer. Right? Because a first-time producer, like a producer, is a CEO. They are the CEO
Right.
of the enterprise.
That's right.
So I'm like, so that scares me a little bit. But a first-time director, no. Doesn't
Well,
scare me.
that is good to know. And it's one thing I tell this story of when I was in television, first coming out with an NBC affiliate. I remember having a show, and my show was cut with good ratings. And so I was like, okay, I'm the host of the show, I'm the producer of the show. And then I said to myself, producers and hosts can get fired. So I'm going to become a director. I'm going to be all of it because I'll never fire me.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So that's good to know. But producers, I take my hat off. We work like crazy people. We're
Yes.
the lawyer. We drive the cars. We look over the script. We hire the crew. We negotiate. We do everything. We're there.
Right.
And then directors, that's the fun part. You know, I get to protect the job, and then I'm a crazy thing, like I'm an avid editor certified. So I've got posts locked in.
Right. Right.
But John, this has been it's been so exciting to have you on the show. I mean, you have brought so much information. I hope that people got something from this because you are so seasoned in this business. In closing remarks, do you have anything you want to say to seasoned producers and directors out there sitting on the sideline waiting to come back to work? I know you said prepare, but anything else you want to let them know?
Yeah, I think just the outlook is great. It's really great. And so I know this has been a very frustrating time for filmmakers, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera. But I think the outlook is really good and strong. And I think our industry is going to survive like it always has. And we'll come out the other side triumphant. I really do believe that.
Well, let's close on that. I am so thankful to have you on the show, and you do have to come back again. Yes. Well, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Cathy Durant. See you next time.